So hopefully everybody feels really positive. This meditation is a very, very positive meditation. If you have some feeling at the end of that meditation, bodhicitta is the most positive mind in the universe. That's quite something to think. You know, that there are infinite sentient beings, infinite living beings in the universe. Well, maybe not infinite, but so many that we couldn't possibly count them. And they all have different kinds of ways of thinking, types of mind. Of all of them, the most positive is bodhicitta. Universal responsibility. Now, this text which we're studying, we're almost finished, but we started this text in retreat, some of us, I think 8 days ago now. And one of the main points in this text, 10 days? No.
From last Thursday?
Today's Saturday. Oh, 9 days. Okay, anyway, a long time, yeah. One of the main points of the text is that bodhicitta needs emptiness understanding. That the wisdom understanding emptiness is essential for the bodhicitta. So this is what the next verse is going to talk about, and I just want to explain it a little bit before we go there. First of all, emptiness, what does it mean? Emptiness means that everything exists depending on other things. Nothing exists by itself. That is the meaning of emptiness. Empty of inherent existence. Empty of existing by itself. So things do exist, but they exist depending on other things. And in themselves, you can't find anything. Take oneself. This person sitting here on this seat. In my case, I'm doing this, but you feel yourself. It's a mistake to think that this person, this self, exists independently. Everything about this person depends on other things. We just heard about the role of the mother and how we wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for the mother. So our life depends on our mother. We don't have to even go further than that. But our body and our mind depend on many parts, depend on many causes. They do not exist independently. They only exist in relation to other things. That means if you really search to find something actually there, something in there, you won't find anything. This is quite complicated. I used this example yesterday, but people usually seem to get it. You look here, you see a guy called Andy. And usually you think, that is Andy. But if you search in this body and in this mind, you won't find anything which is Andy. There's not a single atom, there's not a single tiny thought which is Andy. So what is Andy? Sure, it's my name. So this guy sitting here is called Andy. That's not saying Andy doesn't exist at all. It just means that Andy is something that your mind puts on this. And also my mind. Except usually I think I or me. But it's the same issue. There is no real I or me in here. And each of us can say the same about ourselves. But nevertheless, we can say, I am sitting here. It's true, but it's only relatively true. That's the point. It's relatively true. Now, I don't want to spend too long on that, because some of us spent many, many days just studying this topic. And those of you who weren't able to be on the retreat, then please try to find the opportunity to learn about emptiness, because it's very, very inspiring. It will also liberate you from many problems. So even for that reason, it's so good. But when I want to move, well, how does it help the bodhicitta? The bodhicitta, as we meditated, is so vast. It's so extensive. With emptiness, there's no distance. Because here and there are just relative. In emptiness, there is no distance. Okay? That's quite a big thing to get your head around. Next point. For me to free all sentient beings from suffering, how long would that take? I mean, right now I can talk to a few people. I'm not even able to help them come to enlightenment, but how am I going to free all beings? It just seems like something impossible. But that's because we have this idea of time. What is time? In emptiness, now and then are just relative. What does it mean, just relative? Look at these two fingers. One is long, one is short. Okay, fine. Is this finger long or short? You can't say. Because long and short are relative. They're relative terms. You can only say long in relation to something which is shorter. You can only say short in relation to something which is longer. Right now we're inside this building. Maybe later we will be outside. Inside and outside only exist relative to each other. There is no absolute inside and there's no absolute outside. Parent and child. When somebody is a parent, especially to their child, it looks like a real parent. Something really over there is a parent. When did that parent become a parent? When they had a child. Before that, there was no parent there. Son or daughter, same. Each of us, are we a son, a daughter? Are we a parent? Are we a grandchild? We have all these different names or, designations according to which relationship we're discussing. Everything exists relative to other things. And it's the same with here and there. They're just relative. Now and then are just relative. Past, present, future are just relative. Now this is very profound because in emptiness there is no space and there is no time. I read one book about modern philosophy, not Buddhist book, a general philosophy book, but written for people like me who can't really study philosophy because it's too complicated. And in that book, the writer said, time is nature's way of making sure that everything doesn't happen at the same moment. In other words, there is no real time, it's just it's just a construct. That is kind of freaky, isn't it? It's mind-blowing. It's quite hard, actually, to really understand, because this morning we woke up. That was in the past, wasn't it? Relatively, yes, it was in the past. But ultimately means, can we find something which is the moment of waking up? Can we find something which is the moment of sitting here now? I said now, didn't I? But that was then. It's gone. when you explore this topic of emptiness, you discover there's nothing to grasp onto. Everything is free of graspability. In other words, you can't grasp anything. Now, this helps bodhicitta. It doesn't stop us from compassion, because compassion depends on cause and effect. My mind, the suffering of others, compassion is a result. It doesn't stop the path to enlightenment. My mind now, not enlightened. My mind in future, enlightened. Cause and effect. My mind now needs the path, the practices, and then will become enlightened. Emptiness does not stop compassion or the path to enlightenment. That means bodhicitta still effective. But with emptiness there is not the challenge, it's not the fear, there's not the obstacle of, oh, I can't do that, oh, I'm so small, oh, it's too much, oh, it's too big. I will become enlightened for all sentient beings. Let's get on with it. Emptiness, there's no real me, there's no real sentient beings, there's no real enlightenment, everything just appearance of cause and effect, what we call dependent origination. Things just depend on other things. So let's just do it. Stop thinking about all this me, 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 me. You. Time. Just don't think about it, because it's all empty. It still exists. It will happen. It will take time. One day we will die. Then we come again. Then, if we have a strong retention, the bodhicitta will come again in another context, another time. We will progress, and gradually our mind will expand with the bodhicitta, and we will be able to hold more and more beings in our compassion and love and capacity to help. Just compare oneself to His Holiness Dalai Lama. Who can help more beings? Stupid question, isn't it? Why can he help more beings than me? Because his bodhicitta is much more developed. That's the only reason. You might think, oh no, he's something special. Forget it. He has a mind, I have a mind. He has the potential to help all beings, I have the potential to help all beings. What is the difference? He practiced more than me already. But in time, I can become like that. That's the meaning of a guru. The guru is simply to show you what you can become and then inspire you to want to become that. It's no more complicated than that. That's it. You don't have to make the guru into some fancy big, blah blah. It's just the guide or inspiration, the example. I want to be like that. Simple, really. Okay, so let's keep going with the text. We only did one verse, and we need to do a few to complete it. We're on verse 101. Okay, page 11. Criticism is mistaken, which says that those who constantly fulfill others' welfare through their body, speech and mind in this way and advocate the dialectic of emptiness are being nihilistic. Okay, so first of all, the first line says that if you criticize those, that's a mistake. So what is it that it's a mistake? The second and third lines are talking about the bodhisattvas. They constantly fulfill others' welfare through their body, speech and mind. That is the way of the bodhisattva. Constantly fulfill others' welfare through their body, speech and mind. That is how we should be. That is the best way to use your life. Constantly. Even when you're sleeping. If you have the Bodhisattva's vows, even when you're sleeping, you are benefiting others. It's not something only when you are physically doing something. It's even whatever you're doing, it can be of benefit to others just by your practicing bodhicitta, through your mind being bodhicitta. Now, they advocate the dialectic of emptiness. What does dialectic of emptiness mean? It means that things are depending on each other. That's the dialectic. They're interdependent. That's another word for dialectic. Dialectic is where things are interacting to produce something. Now, emptiness is about the interaction between everything, the interdependence. Everything in this room depends on other things. Right now we've got 2 cameras working, and one of them is broadcasting to the internet, and the other is storing the picture. Everything about that process is interdependent. The whole process, even the fact that it's been invented by some people in recent times. All this technologies, it's interdependent. And then look at our own body. It's the same, it's an organism, but everything in it is interdependent. And our mind, that understands these things, that thinks about that knows what an iPhone is, knows what a camera is, all these things, knows what the internet is. It's all interdependent. There's nothing there that exists by itself. That is the dialectic of emptiness. And when you are living with the dialectic of emptiness, the bodhicitta becomes much easier. It's free from being trapped with grasping this. Suffering, it's terrible, terrible, terrible. With emptiness, the bodhicitta is not heavy. It's just practical. If I can help, sure, okay, I'm coming to help. You don't need to make a big deal like, aren't I a big helper? Or isn't this person suffering just impossible? No, you just do something if it's practical. The problem is we're so self-conscious. Oh, should I do that? I'm not sure. Oh, wow, I did such a great thing today. Aren't I amazing? Oh, but I made some mistakes. Oh, aren't I terrible? I. It's a blockage to bodhicitta. With emptiness, you don't think about that. Sure, we make mistakes, but we do our best. That's all we can do. With emptiness, there's some kind of recognition, some acceptance of where we are. All this self-consciousness is so destructive, and it's all grasping at me. When you think you're good, it's grasping at me. When you think you're bad, it's grasping at me. Just forget it. We don't need it. Just be. Just get on, do the job. The job is to practice. Wherever you are. And again, you don't have to go to some special place. Sometimes it's good. We can go to retreat, or go to a class, or whatever. Go to meet some teacher or something like that. But in general, wherever we are, we can practice. In the home, in the street, in the shops, in the job, everywhere is suitable for practicing bodhicitta and emptiness. And this text is only about 2 topics, bodhicitta and emptiness. Okay? Bodhicitta is called relative bodhicitta, emptiness is called ultimate bodhicitta. So sometimes we call these the 2 bodhicittas. And the relative bodhicitta leads to manifesting the enlightened forms and all the teachings and all the activities of the Buddha. And the ultimate bodhicitta leads to the pure omniscient mind of the Buddha. And when we're enlightened, this mind and these forms are just one, non-dual. So in our case, we have a body which will die, and the mind will just carry on, and then find a new body and start a new life, and then carry on. In the case of the Buddhas, it's not like that. Mind and body is always non-dual. Even they send out an emanation to be born as this Dalai Lama at this time in this place, and then that Dalai Lama seems to die at one time, but then comes back in another body. Thus, the enlightened mind can do that. It's just appearing in different times, in different forms. Okay? Any question? Right, continue. The great beings, Mahasattvas, abide in neither cyclic existence nor nirvana. Therefore, on this point, the Buddha taught the non-abiding nirvana. So, there are some Buddhist practitioners following what we call Hinayana, or the hearers. They are practicing for their own nirvana. It's just for themselves. And they can achieve that by understanding emptiness. But they don't have bodhicitta. If they had bodhicitta, they would work for the non-abiding nirvana. The non-abiding nirvana is equally comfortable in nirvana or samsara. It doesn't mind, because it's beyond that duality. The limited small nirvana, personal nirvana, is dualistic. It's an escape from samsara. Now, I'm sure if we understand samsara, we can also understand why people want to escape. I mean, samsara is suffering. It's horrible. So of course we want to escape. But because of bodhicitta, our own suffering is a small part of the whole picture. The picture is the suffering of all beings. So therefore, if I escape alone, it's not good enough. Therefore, the bodhisattva path is not to go to the small nirvana, the private, personal nirvana. It's to transcend nirvana and samsara. So then the Buddha can manifest in samsara. No pain, no problem. Just spontaneous. That is the non-abiding nirvana. Everybody understand? Non-abiding? Who said no? Okay, please, good. What can I do to help?
I don't know yet.
What is it you don't understand?
The concept of non-abiding nirvana.
Okay, so nirvana means to stay in peace. Okay, so if we stay in peace separate from everything, this is the small nirvana. The non-abiding nirvana means we can stay in peace even if there's a war going on, even if everybody's shouting, even if somebody's cutting our hand, we're still in peace. Because that nirvana isn't in the separate nirvana or in samsara. It's just universal, maybe, that's a good way. Non-abiding nirvana is universal. It's non-dualistic.
Non-abiding to what?
Non-abiding anywhere. It's not abiding in nirvana, and it's not abiding in samsara. It's beyond that duality. It's non-dual. It's transcendent of both samsara and nirvana. It's another way, another space, another way of being, which is equally happy everywhere. If you look at His Holiness Dalai Lama, very good example. Lama Zopa Rinpoche, excellent example. Lama Yeshe was also a very good example. There are many examples, many great Lama beings that we can see, and they're here with us in this terrible world, but somehow it doesn't disturb them the way it disturbs us. Because they have the inner peace, the non-abiding nirvana. That's it. Is that more helping? Anybody else?
What about the Mahasattvas?
Mahasattvas means great beings. So it's referring to bodhisattvas, or maybe Buddhas actually. The great beings. This one's referring to Buddhas. Yeah, this one's Buddhas, sorry. Mahasattvas here is Buddhas, because they transcended cyclic existence and nirvana. Okay.
It's actually emptiness.
Yeah.
Emptiness on every level.
Yeah, it is. This is why emptiness needs to come with the bodhicitta, so we can reach the non-abiding nirvana. Without the emptiness, you can't do that. Yeah.
Become sticky.
Yeah, sticky, yeah, exactly. You become sticky, stuck, like you're in the mud and you can't move. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Next. The single taste of compassion is merit. I'll just pause and explain that. The single taste of compassion is merit. This means that any compassionate activity creates positive karma. Positive karma or positive potential for the future. This is what is the meaning of the word merit. In Tibetan, the word is sonam. Sonam is the positive potential that we all need in order to become enlightened. It's like a strong energy, a positive force. And compassion is the best way to produce it. It's very, very good. Now, then the next line. The taste of emptiness is most excellent. Most excellent means it's the best in the terms of the taste. It's because it's beyond anything. Merit is one thing. Emptiness is transcendent. Merit is something practical, it's something conventional, it's something which exists, it's something which will give us the sort of like the energy or the power to reach enlightenment, or to do anything good actually. To do anything positive, we need merit. Even now, we're born as a human being and we have the access to the Dharma teachings and we have the ability to practice. The merit just to create that situation is extraordinary. Very, very few beings have that merit which we have. But the single taste of everything is emptiness. Not just the positive merit, but everything is emptiness. Okay. Those who drink the elixir of emptiness, it means this is now taking emptiness as like a drink. It's like a medicine. Elixir is a sort of medicine which cures all illnesses. So emptiness is an elixir. Because through emptiness, all the problems are solved. All the problems are cured. Those who drink the elixir of emptiness to realize one's own and others' welfare are the conqueror's children. Now, conqueror means Buddha. Children means like a prince or princess who is going to grow up to be a king or a queen. So the king or queen is the Buddha, and the child, or the prince or princess, is the one who's going to become Buddha, a bodhisattva. So we say that the bodhisattvas are the Buddha's children, or the Buddha's sons or daughters, because they're going to grow up to become the Buddha. And so for that, they need both bodhicitta and emptiness, or we could say compassion and emptiness in terms of this verse. Yes. Yeah.
I'm sorry, because I tell you what,
Okay.
From my perspective, emptiness is something that it's less positive. Maybe I don't understand it.
Sure, yeah. We can use the word emptiness in many ways. Emptiness means empty of something. Like this cup has got no more drink in. So it's empty of drink. So when we say emptiness in general, we need to say empty of what? So when you say something less positive, you mean something like emptiness of meaning, or emptiness of happiness, or emptiness of good things. That's not very nice. When we use emptiness in the Buddhist teachings, we mean very specific emptiness. And we're talking about the nature of things which are empty of self. So what does self mean? Self means existing by itself. So this watch, empty of self, empty of existing by itself. Now you look at this watch, you think, sure, it exists by itself. No, it doesn't. It depends on many parts. It has a battery. It depends on a battery to make it work. But it also depends on all these different parts. It depended on the factory, where it was made. It depended on the worker who put it together. And so on and so on and so on. But above all, it's only a watch because my mind knows it as a watch. Imagine a fly comes bzzz, and lands. Does it land on a watch from the fly's point of view? No, because for a fly, watch doesn't exist. So when we say things exist, they only exist relatively. So for humans who live in this time, there is such a thing as a watch. Just take it 1,000 years ago, was this a watch? No, because they didn't know about it. So existence is something relative. That means it's empty. That is what we mean by emptiness in the Buddha teachings. It's something really beautiful. It's like space. It's freedom. It's freedom from being stuck with existing blah blah forever. Same. It's impossible. Okay? Good. Okay. Right. Next verse. Bow to them. That means the bodhisattvas. Bow to the bodhisattvas with your entire being. It means your whole body, your whole speech, your whole mind. You do full-length prostrations. You bow with your whole being to the bodhisattvas. They are the amazing ones. Sometimes they say the bodhisattva is even more amazing than the Buddha, and I'll explain why. It's because sometimes when we see the new moon, it's so beautiful. And they say one of the reasons it's beautiful is because it shows that the full moon is coming. And they say like that, even the bodhisattva makes the Buddhas more happy than when they see another Buddha. It's like us, if we see a little child, because it's just the beginning of something. Okay. So bow to them with your whole being, entire being. They are always worthy of honor. These guides of the world reside in the three worlds as representatives of the Buddhas. So they reside in the three worlds, which means the desire realm, the form realm, and the formless realm, which I'll explain. But the way that they abide there is as representatives of the Buddhas. So a bodhisattva seems like an ordinary person, seems like one of us. This is quite an important point. Buddha's kind of a bit far out, really, but a bodhisattva is somebody we can talk to, somebody we can relate to, and someone who is among us, taking our form, right? And so they reside in the three worlds as representatives of the Buddhas. Representatives, it's like they are the ambassador of the Buddha. They're giving the message of the Buddha, like a prophet. In other religions they talk about prophets, don't they, or those kind of things. They are like the messengers of the Buddha. Also, we talk about in Tibetan Tantric Buddhism, we talk about dakas and dakinis, messengers of the Buddha. They come among us. They are also examples of bodhisattvas, by the way. A female one. Daka is a male one. They are messengers of the Buddha. They actually are aspects of enlightenment, but they appear among us in a sort of ordinary form. But they have some sort of amazing qualities. And they also can inspire us and lead us and guide us. Yeah. So, okay, three worlds. So the desire realm is the realm that we are in now, where the mind is dominated by desire. Want, 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 want. Some beings, through the meditation called shamatha, they can arise above that, so they're no longer dominated by desire. And sometimes this is called the Brahma realms, and it can be achieved by non-Buddhists through great concentration, but it also can be achieved by Buddhists, not Buddhists, Buddhists. So this is called the form realm, and it's related to the devas or gods. So maybe like on the top of Mount Olympus, maybe that was sort of form realm, because they have form, but they have just so much pleasure all the time, because their mind is above the desire realm. Their pleasure is more pure than ours. It's not so dominated by desire, it's just more like playing.
Why it's called form? Why it's called form?
It's called form because they still have form. We have form too, but theirs has form but not desire, and not gross desire. Yeah?
You mentioned desires.
Yeah.
Okay, so I understand who someone don't know much,
Yeah.
doesn't know much, sorry,
Yeah.
that he live lack of desires. I mean, let's say he's not has desires. But what about someone that already has knowledge
Yeah.
and he live with desires? How he can? I mean, like you said, that to live without desires. I mean, if you know about something,
Yeah.
I mean, the desire grows, right? I mean, within you or not you, any person. But what about, I mean, how to live with desires that already exist? And let's say we cannot reach them.
Well, we can
We
reach
can or
them.
we can't?
We can, yes, we can reach them, but there are ways to live with desire by purifying them with emptiness. So maybe outside on the table there's some very delicious cookies, and when you go out there just to have a rest, you see them, and then you didn't plan to have one, but your desire leads your hand to reach for one.
You already know the taste, how it's.
Yeah, and it just looks nice also. Anyway, yes. So that's desire. In our realm, as humans or animals, or there's many different kinds of beings in the desire realm, not only humans and animals actually, but all the beings in our realms, in our desire realm, have this tendency for desire to lead them to take. Now, if we don't have emptiness knowledge, then desire will lead us into trouble. That's the problem. It's never satisfied. It disturbs the mind. Like I went out there just to have some fresh air, but then my desire got strong on the things on the table. And then I had something. It was very tasty. But then I thought, yeah, I need another one. So desire is not satisfied. I didn't need to eat anything. I had a good breakfast. But my desire made me want, okay? So, but with emptiness, then, if there's desire, then there's also freedom. I can have one, I cannot have one.
I can choose.
I can choose. I'm free. I'm happy or I'm happy, I'm happy. I'm happy with, I'm happy without. With emptiness, then...
There is no attachment.
Exactly. You got it. That's the point. So, in the form realm, there is still some attachment, but it's much more subtle. Now, the final one is the formless realm. In the formless realm, there is no form, or no gross form anyway. There's just mind meditating on very vast, spacious subject, but there is still some small feeling of self. There's still a kind of feeling, I am here. So even that realm is still in samsara. So these three realms are all part of cyclic existence or samsara. So to go beyond that, we need emptiness. With emptiness, we go beyond the three realms. Yes, Sarah, sorry.
Yes, when we are thinking about needs, body needs, like body needs food.
Oh yeah, that's different.
Yes.
That's different.
There are people who live from prana, they don't eat it,
Mm.
just from
Mm-hmm.
really can live without
Yeah, yeah.
eating.
Yeah. Probably they might be in the form realm or formless realm when they really get to that stage. It's a more subtle kind of food. And it's a more subtle kind of need, but they need something. But you're absolutely right, there are those who can live like that. But they are very advanced meditators. It's not like me, or well, maybe you guys are all advanced, but anyway. To live on prana is an advanced meditator.
Geshe Tenzin Zopa
Yeah.
told us about the Geshe Lama Kunchu.
Yes. So I'll tell that because I've got the microphone. So Geshe Tenzin Zopa, who sat in this room not so long ago, his guru, Geshe Lama Konchog, he spent 10 years not eating ordinary food in the final stages of his path. And for the first 7 of those years, he used to take some pills called chulen in Tibetan, which is kind of some essential substance made from herbs or flowers. Then he thought, that's too much trouble. So he went higher in the mountain until he lived under a kind of rock. And for 3 years he lived only on air. Prana. So like you said. And during those 3 years he completed the path and became enlightened.
Going back to, I mean, when we are on the lower
Like us.
yes,
You mean the desire realm?
we have our needs. So how can I differentiate between need or desire?
Oh, it's easy.
We are starving.
It's easy. I needed my breakfast because it's got some nutritious food, and if I don't have breakfast, I'm weak in the day. I didn't need what I ate in the break. I mean, you just use your intelligence, actually. You know about nutrition. You know about your body. You need certain things.
If I eat less, I need less. That's not
To some degree, yes. But you need a certain amount of protein, a certain amount of carbohydrate. I mean, I'm not an expert in nutrition, but I know that much. Of course we should satisfy our needs, but we don't need to be attached in order to do that. We can do that with wisdom, just being sensible, to look after yourself. But the rest, going to the nice restaurant and choosing the beautiful chocolate dessert.
We need it.
I think also as your
You-
desire becomes less, then like now our needs and desires are entwined. I think you're quite right. You know, we often don't distinguish between them, or we tell ourselves we need something. But when you really start to get on top of desire, then you know it really becomes clear what you need. What's desire.
It's the same with all desires. There are many things that we need, not just food. Learning to recognize desire is actually part of the path. And you don't need to think all desire is negative. The first thing is just to recognize it. And then there are practices to use desire in the path, because desire has quite a lot of energy. So if you can learn those methods, such as exchanging self with others, exchanging self with others, we call lojong in Tibetan, means thought transformation. We can use desire in the path if we're skillful, but we need to learn how to do that. And of course, as most people know, Tantra is a methodology for using desire. But it's transformed with emptiness. Without emptiness, desire is actually like fire. It will burn you. But with emptiness, it can be very, very pure and powerful. And it can help you to enlightenment more quickly. So in general, don't necessarily reject desire, but definitely you need to know it, to recognize it. And you need to be able to manage it, because otherwise it will eat you.
Desire can give you the feeling of rejoicing, you know, it helps you rejoice in the
With emptiness, definitely, yes.
when you combine.
I think, yeah, we have to know what we're doing really. But you're right in general, I think. It can do.
I was also thinking, the Buddha being an ascetic, and that ascetic path was too strict and too tight, really. And then it was when he had the rice pudding, then that helped. So, I think you can just as much be me, taking away pleasurable things from yourself. You think, oh, I don't need that, but actually there's quite a big I that doesn't seem to need that, and what a great example I am, not needing that. So we,
Yeah, it's really tricky.
it's tricky. So now you have to enjoy the chocolate without the big me, which is harder.
Is there any connection between the representatives of the Buddhas and the bodies of the Buddhas?
Bodies?
Buddhas and their representatives.
The
What's
body-
the difference?
the body of the
What's the difference?
Kaya.
Oh, the kayas.
Yeah.
What's the question?
The difference between the kayas
Not
of
the
a
difference, is there
Sorry.
a relation?
This verse is talking about bodhisattvas. Verse 104. I think that it's talking about bodhisattvas. In general, bodhisattvas are not yet Buddhas.
But if it's written representative of the Buddhas,
It doesn't mean representation. It didn't say representation. I think that's the confusion. The Nirmanakaya is the representation or manifestation of the Buddha. This one, representative, is more like the president of Tibet came to Israel to represent the Tibetan government. He is the representative. A representative is somebody who represents something.
The councils of the
Yeah, exactly. Ambassadors.
thank you.
Okay, let's do one more verse. 105. In the great vehicle, that's the Mahayana, the awakening mind, that's Bodhicitta, is stated to be the highest ideal. In other words, the most important, the most wonderful, the most precious thing for us to develop. So, with absorbed, brackets determined effort, absorbed means really through meditation. Absorbed in meditation. Determined means we really work hard to get to that. Determined means we make a determination. I will achieve enlightenment for the sake of all beings. Not just, oh, wouldn't it be nice? It's more than that. It's making a determination. For that you need self-confidence. To be honest, you need self-esteem. You need to feel good about yourself. There is, unfortunately, many of us are sort of damaged psychologically, and we think, oh, I'm no good. If you feel you're no good, you can't really practice bodhicitta very well. You know this yes we can attitude of Obama's slogan. The bodhisattva needs to think, yes, I can.
compassion for yourself first.
Absolutely. You need to love yourself. You need to feel compassion towards yourself. You need to respect yourself. You need to appreciate yourself. And then you can move to love, compassion, respect, appreciation for others. And of course, some of us have to do a lot of work on ourselves first. But if the purpose of that is so that we can develop bodhicitta, it's very, very worthwhile. Maybe we should think a little bit. Why do we have such a bad feeling about ourselves? Did somebody tell us we were no good and we believed them? Is that the reason? Some teacher or parent or what?
It's something that developed with years.
It grew over years. You reinforced it. Oh, look, I did that. That proves I'm no good. Oh, no, I've proved it again. I did another mistake.
Probably at the beginning it starts with, let's say, with some entity that is important to us.
Mm-hmm.
And with the years it's growth,
Yeah, that's true. It grows and grows. Then you really believe it.
Yeah, and anything that you
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
you just approve it. If
Yeah.
you make a mistake, okay, this
Yeah.
is what I've been told, and this is the fact.
Yeah. The thing is, a mistake doesn't mean you're no good. We all make mistakes.
In the West, it's very nicely done that we not only do the mistake, but we also bash ourselves down. Instead of saying, okay, we say, let's learn from it. No, I'm no good. I'm not going to make a
Yeah.
mistake. I'm terrible.
Yeah.
You fall down. But in the East, I think the Tibetans, they make a mistake and they really laugh.
The Tibetans are very good at that, actually. They generally have a good self-esteem, good self-confidence, quite courageous attitude, and, they try to be a good person, but when they make a mistake, then they say, oh, I made a mistake. And then also they know these practices for purification, so you can purify when you make mistakes.
One of my workers broke something at work. He's Tibetan.
Oh, yeah.
He works with me once in a while.
Yeah.
He broke something quite expensive. And he was really, really laughing. What could I do?
He broke it, yeah.
Made a mistake. I'm sorry.
Sure, yeah. Okay, yeah. So I think that's quite true what you say, that we keep reinforcing it until it becomes so definite that I'm no good, yeah?
You said absorb refers to the meditation.
Generally, yes.
And I thought at the beginning when you have to convince yourself, you have to use meditation to convince yourself, but the real effort, determined effort is to do it
Yeah.
outside meditation, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to really go teaching like you don't think you go travel and do a lot of effort to teach the stuff, so that's outside the cushion.
Well,
Absorb.
I don't mind talking a wee bit about myself, how I function, but every morning I do my practice. And if I didn't do that, I couldn't do much in the day. So I think it's important for each of us to have some kind of practice in the morning. I think the morning's best for most people. There's a few people for whom evening practice is better, but if possible, do the practice in the morning, even short one, and then the day is where you just do it. But the morning is so important to give you the kind of energy or the determination or some, I don't know what it is, the motivation, perhaps.
It's the motivation for the whole day.
Yeah, exactly. And then maybe at the end of the day you can look back and say, well, I did okay, or no, I made some mistakes, and, okay, you make a mistake, you have some regret, but, yeah, I think it's interdependent, the two. Okay, did we finish that verse? So, with absorbed, determined effort, generate this awakening mind. Well, this final part of this text is just really inspiring us to develop bodhicitta. So, I think, for me, the meditation which Shan led at the beginning of this session, this 6 cause and 1 effect, all sentient beings have been my mother. I don't know, when I was listening I was just thinking, yeah, it just made you happy. Did it make you happy? It made me happy. I was thinking, oh yeah, it's such a nice sort of feeling to have bodhicitta. Even, just sort of a shadow of bodhicitta. It's like, we say it's still contrived. It's not the genuine bodhicitta is just spontaneous. They say when you have genuine bodhicitta, even when you hear a bird sing, automatically you want to become enlightened for the sake of all sentient beings, because that bird reminds you that sentient beings need help. But for us, normally, when we hear a bird sing, we might think, oh, that's nice. Yeah? In other words, to be reminded of any sentient being. Or another one, you go shopping. You go into a big store and there's so many people. How do you feel? Do you feel annoyed? Do you feel, oh, I must get through all these people? Or do you feel, this one needs my help, this one needs my help, this one needs my help, this one needs, so I should become enlightened so I can help all of them. So when you have uncontrived bodhicitta, it's what I just said. But before that, then we have a more sort of ordinary mind, thinking, oh gosh, maybe it's too busy, I'll come back another time. Come back another time. The Bodhisattva never says, come back another time. The Bodhisattva just goes right in, okay, I'll deal with this situation. No freak out. And no rush also. No rush. That's one problem, isn't it?
Can you repeat the last thing?
Sorry, I didn't hear.
Can you repeat the last point?
The last point is, I'm using the example of a store. We go into a big store where there's many people and we want to get something. So, how do we feel at that point? Do we feel annoyed? Sometimes. Or do we feel, okay, I must just get through all these people to get to where I need to go? But not really thinking about them as sentient beings who need compassion, need love, need help. Okay? When we have uncontrived bodhicitta, which is spontaneous, then as soon as we see them, oh, my dear mother sentient beings, wow. Then still you can go to get what you need, but not with all the stress. Maybe you'll even get there quicker. I don't know. Or maybe it'll be slower, but you don't mind. You don't mind. Even if you're late for what you're doing next. The main point is the love and compassion. So, something like that.
Sometimes, in order to have this genuine feeling of bodhicitta,
Yeah.
I dedicate one of the meditations that I do
Yeah.
to really imagine
Yeah.
the people that I'm with, how they've been my mother,
Yeah.
and how I've been theirs.
Yeah. That's nice.
And I think
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah. And it helps you to actually think like that,
yeah,
even when you meet them a little bit?
for everybody.
Wow.
It sort of makes the
Yeah.
wheels turn
Yeah, exactly.
in such a way that
Yeah.
you know what you have to do.
Right. Okay, well this is exactly what we're saying, isn't it? Exactly. So you see, she grew up in Israel and she's already doing it, so you can all do it. It's just something. We're all capable of this, it just needs training. What she said, she decides every day to dedicate one of her meditations for that purpose. That's training. That's how we train our mind, by reinforcing, by reminding every day. Then it will change. It's neural plasticity. The brain pathways change. Okay, thank you very much. We'll be back at 2:30.